So this video is to kind of wrap up proportions and look at some of the problems that you can solve using proportions and some of the things that you can use to help make it a little easier. So a proportion is an equation, like set forth in the equal sign, that shows two equivalent ratios. So proportion and equivalent and equal all go together. So anytime you're provided three pieces of information and you need the fourth piece of information, you write a proportion. And when setting up a proportion, the same units must be either next to each other or above or below each other. And so this is why you label your charts and your tables and put the two pieces of information, the two labels, the pieces of information that you know, the additional piece of information, and then what you're looking for. So one way to find whether ratios are proportional is to simplify the ratios. So what you're trying to do is find out if these are equal. So 6/8 would simplify to 3/4, and 3/4 is 3/4. Since those are equal, they are proportional. Or another way of solving proportions is using a scale factor. And with this, whenever you look at this and you go, okay, here's my x. I'm going from 24 to 6, so I'm divide by 4. And whenever I do to the bottom, I do to the top, divide by 4, and I would get x equals 4. And so I could do that whenever the scale factor works with a proportion. This one, I can also use a unit rate, and we looked at doing that. With the unit rate, I'm going to set this equal to, so I want to find out how much one item costs. So one item is 63 divided by 7 is 9, so it's $9 per item. And then I'm going to go back to this ratio and say I've got to get from one item to 8 items. And that is times 8, and 9 times 8 is 72. So it's $72. And this holds true every time that you can go down to 1, but not all ratios go down to 1. Like 3/4 doesn't go to 1. But any ratio that does go down to 1, you can then use scale factor to get to the answer. So you're going to pause the video and you're going to do these problems and then come back and check your answers. And they're going to seem really easy because you've been practicing this and working with it. But you can feel comfortable doing it, and then we can move forward. So the scale factor is 3 here. Whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top, times 3. So x equals 24. And here I use the unit rate to find out how much per one item. And then I can go from one item to 5 items. And it's times 5, and 5 times 5 is 25. So what do you do if you don't know the scale factor or the unit rate? You can use cross products, and cross products in proportions are equal. And let me show you what that means. So if I take and multiply 8 times 9 across here, that is 72. And if I multiply 6 times 12, that is 72. If these numbers are equal, then it's proportionate. And so you just, whatever you multiply across here, get the answer. You multiply across here, get the answer. If it's the same, it's proportionate. And that's what this shows. 6 times 12 is equal to 8 times 9, 72, 72. So if you know that and can do that, then whenever you're trying to find something, you can cross multiply, cross products. 6 times 6 is 36. So 4 times something has to equal 36. Well, 4 times 9. So this would be 9. So D would be 9. And that's how you do it every time. So look at this one and use the cross product to solve it and get a little practice. So if you multiply across, you get 24, and then you look at this and you say 8 times some number has to equal 24. So what 8 times 3? So x is equal to 3. And it's that easy. It really is simple. The only time that this becomes a major problem is when your numbers get really big. So let's look at a question where the numbers are bigger here and here, but they're not terribly big. But let's look at them. So if I have a multiple choice, I can put these numbers, these answers in to find out what's equal. So if I do it across like this, 15 times 4 is 60, and maybe I don't know 12 times what is 60. Maybe I don't know that. So I can put these in. 12 times 8, no, that's not 60. 12 times 10, that's not 60. 12 times 6, that's not 60. 12 times 5, that is 60. So I can use, by substituting in the answers, I can use my answers to solve my problem. And that's the great thing about multiple choice. So now it's your turn. See if you can use the answers to solve the problem. So let's look at this. So if I cross product here, I get 300, and then 4 times what number has to equal 300? So let's take my answer choices. So 4 times 25 does not equal 300. That equals 100, so can't be that. 4 times 50 is 200, so it can't equal that. 75 times 4 is 300, so it does equal that. But just to check, 4 times 100 equals 400, so it can't equal that. So, so it has to be C. So can you see how substituting in the answer choices can really help you out solve these? Now you could have said, okay, 300 divided by 4 is what number, and found out what the multiplication is, or you can just multiply the answer choices. So sometimes, so this is another little topic, those are all the different ways you can solve a proportion. But sometimes distances cannot be measured directly. One way to find such a distance is to use indirect measurement, a way of using similar figures and proportions to find a measure. So a 30-foot building casts a shadow that's 75 feet long. A nearby tree casts a shadow that's 35 feet long. How tall is the tree? So we're comparing building to tree, and we're saying 30 to x, what we want to find, the height of the tree, is equal to 75, which is the building, and 35, which is the tree. Okay? And so we have to simplify before we multiply to get this. And so we would simplify, this would simplify by 15 would be 5, and simplify it by 5 would be 15, and simplify by 5 would be 7. So 15/7. And then we could go 15 times 2 is 30, and 7 times 2 is 14. So the size of the tree is 14. Now we could say the building to the thing to the shadow, the thing to the shadow, or we could say the building to the tree. But we have to line up. You have to see this is the height is 30, and we're trying to find the height of the tree. And the length of the shadow for the building is 75, and the length of the shadow for the tree is 35. And then you have to simplify before you can multiply. So it is solving a proportion after you set it up correctly. So let's set this up, or you go ahead and set this up and then come back and check how you did and if you found the right answer. Okay, so I compared the bottom 32 to 4 and the height h to 6. I simplified to get a unit rate, and 32 divided by 4 is 8 to 1. And then to get from 1 to 6, I had to multiply by 6, and 8 times 6 is 48. So my missing amount is 48. So here is the homework check. And it doesn't say homework check, but that's what this is. And so you need to do, it's actually 5 problems, but the first 3, you're just saying if these are proportional, you put A. If they're not proportional, you put B. And then you solve for number 4, multiple choice. And then here's a practice one with the child and a tree and the shadow, and that'll give you practice of doing that one.